Hi, this is Mark Pritchard with CloudBees. I'd like to show you an overview of how to use the Eclipse IDE when working with the CloudBees Java PaaS platform. I've done a series of tutorial recordings on this which have full details of how to set everything up. So if there's anything here that I gloss over or that's not clear, then please do refer to those detailed recordings and blogs which will help you with the configuration. In particular, the first recording takes you right through the Eclipse setup, which plugins to load and all, how to configure those and so on. I'd like you to try this out for yourself. Everything that I'm going to show you can do just by signing up. It'll only take a few clicks, and you can, as a developer, sign up for a completely free CloudBees account. There's no payments or anything required there, so just go to cloudbees.com, click here, sign up, and you'll have exactly the same environment that I'm going to be working with in the demo. And I've also put an example project that I'm going to be using up here on GitHub. So this is mqpritchard, github.com, and the project is called Start CloudBees Eclipse. So just pick up the URI here, and you can just copy that to the clipboard, and then you can clone a new project. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I was just setting up here. So here's I'm going to put this in the overview folder, and so just create yourself a folder where you want your project to live and run a git clone with that URI, and you can just pull that down from GitHub, and then you'll have everything you need to get going. So I can pop that down. Let's go back to Eclipse. You can see here the environment that I've got set up. Here's the CloudBees view, and you can see here I've got a live view of the services, the applications I have running in the cloud, and also my Jenkins CI build jobs here. So for example, I can come down here and open those, and I can see various jobs that I've got running here. So I've also set up a couple of databases. I've got a local Derby database and a cloud MySQL database that's deployed to CloudBees. So again, the setup details on those in the blogs and the tutorials and so on. But let's go ahead and import that Maven project that we just got from GitHub. So I'm using the Sonatype M2E Maven plugin, and I can just import that as an existing project. Let's just browse for where I downloaded it. Here we are, projects, overview, Start CloudBees Eclipse, there we are. There we are, and there's my Maven project with its POM. So I'll just pull that in there. That's just a spurious subclips warning. You can ignore that. It's all configured. And I'm going to come down here, and I've got a fairly simple JDBC based web application, Tomcat application, that we'll use for this demo. So here's the Maven POM file. Just a couple of things I want to show you very quickly. I have down here with all the various artifacts and things that I'm going to have to load. I have a couple of Maven profiles. One's called Cloud, the other's called Local, and the value of this is that then with the settings for the Bees Maven plugin, I can associate with those a configuration which has an environment profile. And if I now go to the CloudBees Web XML, you can see here this is the environment setting, and there's the app ID, there's my CloudBees username, this is going to be the app. But I also have this ability to define in the environment. I have a resource ref here, JDBC countries, but I can associate that in this case with the parameters for a CloudBees hosted MySQL database, and down here I have the local environment, and JDBC countries uses the settings for the local Derby database. And then of course in the web XML in a standard way I just have a single resource ref. That's what I refer to within my application, and as you'll see I can actually pick up, have a context param set so that I can just display that so that I can see exactly what I'm doing. The beauty of this is really so that you can configure and control in your continuous integration and cloud deployments different environments, test, staging, production, and so on. But we'll use that here just to illustrate what's going on. And to run this locally, let's come here and I can use the Maven run configurations. So I'll come down here, run as Maven build, and then I can create these configurations. I'm going to do one called bees run with a local DB, and I'm going to put that in the base directory here. And the goal I'm using is the Maven plugin bees run, that's that goal. And I'm going to use the local profile that'll run Maven with the -p option, and that's what's going to let us pick up that environment setting. And then I want to use this repeatedly, I should think, so I'm going to set that up there, and I'll put it on my run favorites. Just apply that, and now I can just clone that very easily, and I'm going to run this with bees run with a cloud DB, and that's exactly the same except it uses the cloud profile there. So I can apply those and I'm good to go. And you can see it creates these little launch files configurations down here. So easy thing, there's lots of ways to do this, but I can just come down and let's run the local one first, and I'll just run that by going run as bees run local DB, and you can see in the console we do the build the project, and there we are, we have the Tomcat server up and running. Let me go back to Safari, and I'll just go to the URL there, and you can see we've done the query from the database and we're using the local environment profile. So now if I go back to Eclipse, let me just stop that one, get rid of that, and I'll come to the cloud DB here, and now I can do run as, and I'm going to run with the bees run but with the cloud profile setting, and this will look very similar. But now when I come back to my Safari, I can refresh this, and again I'm running the application locally. My Tomcat server is running locally, but I'm now going against a cloud database, and I may get a little network latency here as I run this. There we go, there's the app. I made a slight change to the data that I loaded just as a visual clue. And I also pick up that context param from the servlet config, and you can see that we're running against the cloud environment. So that's fun. Now what we'll do is, I'll just stop that, but we'll show you how to do exactly the same thing in the cloud. So let's come over here, and here are the various cloud services. We have the CloudBees Forge, where we host Git and or Subversion repositories in the cloud. We have the Jenkins dashboard, where we can do Jenkins CI continuous integration, and then the CloudBees PaaS console, where we're going to deploy, manage, and configure our cloud applications. So the first thing we want to do is let's just create a new code repository, and you can do all this as soon as you sign up for a free developer account. Everything I'm showing you, you'll have access to as well. So I'll create my own Git repository in the cloud. You do the same thing, and we're just provisioning that repository, and here's the URI we need to access that. So let me just save that link, and let's go ahead and create a Jenkins CI build to trigger off that. And again, I'm just going to call this overview to keep things simple, and this is of course a Maven project. That's what we're going to push up to the repository. So I can say OK there. And I mean, this is a very simple use of Jenkins. In other recordings I'll show you obviously how you can use this to control much more complex, rich and powerful continuous integration environments. But let me go ahead with a Jenkins CI build for overview project. And what I want to do is to have this automatically triggered anytime there's a push to the Git repository. So I'll copy that URI in there, and I'm going to come down, and you'll see that we're automatically set up. That's the default setting to build whenever a change is pushed to the CloudBees Forge. There are a lot of things you can configure here. We'll look at those another time, but let me just save that for now. And I'm all set up. So I've got a cloud repository on the Forge, and I'm going to have a Jenkins CI continuous integration build kicked off as soon as I commit to a change to the repository. So let's go back to Eclipse. First thing I want to do here is let's come down and run team share, because I want to pick up the Git repository that was created when we cloned that project from GitHub. So we're good. And then let's go to sort of CloudBees Web XML here and just make a minor formatting change, just because I'm going to then commit that change, and then I'm going to push that commit up to the CloudBees repository. So there's the commit, and I'll just say formatting CloudBees Web XML. There we go. I'll commit that. You can see there's the change, and what I'll do now is that I'm going to push this up. So I'll go team remote push, and make sure you use this one, because this is the CloudBees. So this is git@cloudbees.com. That'll be your username, whatever you choose to call your repository. This of course is the original, the GitHub where I cloned from. So let's go next. Add all branches, and I'll just click, and we're now pushing this up to GitHub there. So I'm sorry, we're pushing it to the CloudBees repository, of course. Here we are, git@cloudbees.com, MQ Pritchard overview. So that's done, and while I'm here, let's just note that I can look at and indeed control my Jenkins continuous integration activity from down here. You can see I can actually go in and, for example, I could look at all these things, and here's the overview project, which is actually being scheduled to run right now. If I go back to the Jenkins console and I click on here, you can see that CloudBees has automatically spun up an executor to do this build integration. And if I click down here on the progress bar, I can see the console output. I could do the same thing actually from the Eclipse environment. For example, I could come here and I can refresh this. For example, I'll just reload that, and I'll see what's running here, and then I could come down. So let me just come down here, I'll reopen that, it's running. Let me come down here, I could see the build history, I could look at the console log and things like that. So let's just stop that, but we'll go back to the Jenkins console, and you can see here that the build has been successful. There we are, everything's ready to go. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the project here, and what I can do now is I'll deploy the application, and I'm going to give this an application ID of overview. So I'm going to create an application here and just click on advanced. This is where I can pick up the environment, because I want to run this with the cloud database using the MySQL database I have running in the cloud, and then I'm going to deploy that to CloudBees. Okay, you can see that being deployed here. Once again, all this is handled by the CloudBees infrastructure. You don't have to worry about servers, instances, anything like that. You just say that I want to, in this case, I want to deploy my application called overview, and I'm going to use that with the cloud profile. And here's my application. Here's where I can access it. So the application is overview, and it's at mpritchard.cloudbees.net. That'll be your name, your username there. And of course, don't forget that you can go in and you can configure that to run against, say, your own DNS names. And there's a lot more that you can do there. So for example, if I refresh here, I'll see my new application down here, and of course I can see the same thing down here. You can see here the Jenkins thing, so if I want to look at the progress of Jenkins and so on, I could, for example, look at the Jenkins build history and so on down here. There's a particular build. Once again, if I want to see details, I can open that up. I could see the build details, I could see the console log, all those things here that I can see. So if I want to work entirely within my Eclipse environment, then I can do all that. And then if I were to, for example, refresh on my run at cloud instances here, I'd actually see my new application down here, my new overview. And again, I can control this, I can look at the log files, I can manage all that, say from within Eclipse like this. So for example, I could tail the server log and so on down here in my console view. So what I can do now is, let's go back to here, and there's my application, and it's all active. I can look at the log files. I've got an operations console. Let's just quickly look at the configuration window. As a just a developer, I can come in. I've got different profiles I can run, either a Java EE6 web profile, basic Java web app, which is what I'm using. I can run single instance or multiple instances if I need to test, things like session replication, concurrency, and so on. I can associate my own domain names, my own DNS domain names, and I can also enable some of the CloudBees partner ecosystem. Again, there are a great set of resources that are available to you free as a developer to try out and to use. For example, New Relic's monitoring, troubleshooting, and so on. Papertrail provides log file consolidation, app dynamics. There are many others that you can see from the CloudBees. If you go to the if you go here to the again, the CloudBees website, you'll be able to look at all the different partner ecosystems that we have, and you can go ahead here and look at all the different services, and incorporating them into your application is then really as straightforward as clicking there and redeploying your application automatically when you go to save. So lots there for you to explore and to try out. Let's go to the application now, and you can see here we're now running in the cloud. We're using the cloud environment profile, so we're working directly against that MySQL database in the cloud. So that concludes my brief overview of working with Eclipse and CloudBees. I hope you found that useful. Please do go ahead. Just go to cloudbees.com, sign up for a CloudBees account, try all this out. Again, you can get the source code for this example from GitHub, mqpritchard, start CloudBees Eclipse, and please have fun. Let me know any feedback you have about this, anything that you'd like me to demonstrate or to show in future. And remember, there are the detailed tutorial recordings and blogs to help you out with any aspect of this that may not be familiar. Thank you.